Okay, good evening, everybody. Good evening, and welcome to our Tuesday workshop. And so, what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be hanging out here. This is our Central PA workshop where we basically discuss online business. Now, on Tuesdays, what we do is we really talk about things that you can do. If you're not necessarily fully 100% online, maybe you've already got an online, maybe you've already got a business, or you have an existing market and you want to expand that market. That's what we're going to be talking about on Tuesday. Now, on Saturday is for our 100% online business, whether you're aspiring to do so or not. Make sure that you are signed up for updates at extremebusinessmakeover.com. And I will give you that URL again here at the end. If you have any questions, I can pretty much see them if you're going to be in YouTube. I think I can also see them if you're in Facebook. So feel free to write those questions in, and as you have them, and I'm happy to try to answer them as I see them. So let's go ahead and get started. My goal is to get you out of here in 30 minutes. So let's dive in. So we're going to talk about here tonight. We're going to be talking about licensed content. Now, in my business, we call that licensed content private label rights content. And basically, if you've heard me explain, our basic set of customers use our content in their own business, and they use that content as if it were their own. They basically license it for it. They license us. We license it to them, even though we're the ones that create it, right? And so you want to be able to learn how to do that too. Use private label rights to make your online business more profitable, or the online part of your business more profitable. We're going to be talking about giving you leverage to create more content. That's what private label rights does. More products, right? If you've ever sat in front of a blank computer screen, or you've tried to figure out, well, I'd love to create an information product, but I don't really even know what to say. Private label rights will help you. And it will also give you more authority, because if you haven't figured it out, what you've got to do in the content age is you've got to continue to publish. And sometimes you might run short of ideas. Sometimes you might have lots of ideas. You just run short of time. And so private label rights can help you in your area of expertise. As I said, today there's a need to be prolific. And so, in order to be prolific, it requires that you have new and accurate content all the time, right? And again, that's going to be hard to do if you don't really have, a lot of it. And so what private label rights or PLR does, it's available to people who don't always have time to do the research, right? So they've got the expertise, they've got the know-how, they can get up, they can talk about it, but sometimes they just can't go through the creation process. That's what PLR or private label rights will do for you. So what is it? Right? It's basically content that's licensed to you, the buyer, right? To use in your own business as if it were your own. So, in other words, I may create something that is a video, but you're going to use that video as if you created it yourself. We'll get into how that works here in this session. And so, as you as a buyer, right, or even as someone who buys private label rights content, they don't pay royalties or anything like that. So there's no, they don't have to cite the person that created it. There's no credit that's due. In other words, when you purchase it, you purchase a license to use it according to that license, and it's just as if you wrote it or you created the video. Um, and so it's typically sold from one person to many. So in other words, there are going to be more than one person that has, a particular PLR article or video or audio or some kind of piece of content or some kind of graphic. So what you're going to need to be able to do is you're going to be able to you need to be able to incorporate it into your brand and make it unique. That's what PLR does. So how is it defined? Right? Some private label rights comes in the form, and it's called private label rights, and you'll see it. And basically, that gives you the right when you purchase private label rights to use it as if you created it. There are no restrictions typically. And so there is also what are called resale rights. So resale rights gives you, the buyer, the right to resell it, but you don't always have the right to change it. And sometimes what the creator will do is they'll specify the fact that you have resale rights, but you don't have private label or PLR rights. This content is for you to use, is for you to build authority. Master resale rights gives you, the buyer, the right to resell the product. So in other words, what you're doing with your customer is you're telling them, oh, hey, you can use this in your business, and you have the right to sell the right to sell, right? So master resale rights. And then there are personal use rights. So in some cases, someone will sell you a product, and that's most products on the internet that you're purchasing. Most information products, you're given personal use rights. You have no expectation that you're going to use this content in order to either resell it or in order to put it on your site, your blog, or anything else like that. And then there are unrestricted rights, close to what I said here at the beginning. That means you can do whatever you want. So in other words, and sometimes, and I have said this myself in making some of my content available, the rights are unrestricted. You can do whatever you think is best for your business. And sometimes that is what you will do, when you get private label rights. Okay, so why is it a good deal? Right. So why does it make sense, for you to get it? Why does it make sense for you to have it, to purchase it in some cases, or to acquire it? It saves you time. So in other words, again, you know a topic, you are an expert in the topic, but you're required to produce, and you're required to speak, and you're required to say things that are going to be accurate, and you don't have time to research every issue that comes down the pipe. Where private label rights will save you that research time and allow you to continue to produce. It'll save you preparation time. Same thing. So in other words, you don't have to go out and prepare anything. You're creating an information product. What you're doing is you're taking something and you're adding it to your product. Let's say that you're teaching someone how to build a website, and you go out and you get a private label rights course on WordPress. Right. So all you have to do is teach the part on building the website. You're going to allow the private label rights to teach the person on the WordPress part. Um, PLR can provide the buyer to a way to instantly create additional value. So in other words, you have an information product, or let's say you have a Kindle book. And so what you're going to do is you're going to say, well, hey, you know what? If you purchase my book, all you've got to do is to write in to this email address. I'm going to send you access to a free course. For example, if you were to go right now to extremebusinessmakeover.com and you went and signed up for our Let's Get Digital guide, what would happen is you would instantly see, upon signing up, you're going to be given free access to a course, how to establish a daily work routine. Right. That's one way that you can do it. You can provide additional value with a course or with whatever it is that you're using private label rights to do. Private label rights gives you, the buyer, expertise on previously unknown topics. So in other words, maybe sometimes there are going to be some cases where you didn't know anything about the topic. And so what you're going to be able to do is you're going to be able to come up to speed on a topic that maybe you didn't know everything about, or maybe you didn't even know about at all. Right. That's typically not going to happen when you have a specialized niche or market. But there will be those times where you will be able to purchase something where the writer actually knows something that you didn't. Right. And so PLR can be a great value in that sense. So how do you organize PLR? How do you organize it or use it for in various things? What you're going to do first is, typically what you're going to get is what's called a rights certificate. Remember, I just told you that some cases you're going to get personal use rights, or you're going to get resale rights. You need to read that certificate. Whatever the seller gives you in terms of a rights certificate, typically they're going to put it on the sales page, and you're going to need to read that so that you don't make any assumptions about what it is you can do and what it is that you can't. You want to make sure that if you have unrestricted rights, sometimes the seller will tell you what that means. So make sure you read and understand. And I want to highlight read and understand the rights certificate. Make sure you also take note of what you have inside of the private label rights package. Everyone's different. So not everyone's going to be the same. Sometimes what you're going to get is good writing. Sometimes you're going to get good graphics. Sometimes you're going to get both. Sometimes you're going to get videos. Sometimes you're going to get audios. You always want to make sure that you know what you have. And if you can, try to take note of what what you're going to get before you purchase. Right? So you'll know what it is you're going to be using. What you then want to do is, once you have made the purchase, You're typically going to be taken to some kind of download area. You're going to be taken to a download page, or you're going to be taken to a member area. You want to download and archive the components in an organized way. So you want to give it a naming convention so that if you had to go and search a digital drive or a cloud drive for what you have, you'd be able to find it easily because you know it, you named it, and you name it consistently. If you purchase more than one product, you want to make sure you uniquely name and organize each of the components before you store them. And just as an aside, anytime you're going to be storing private label rights to use later, you're going to put it in a cloud drive or an extended drive. Do make sure that you are, at minimum, right, using some kind of naming convention before you store it away. Um, you want to make sure, and again, this is kind of related. I talked about this a little bit ago, just a minute ago. Make sure your component archive is very searchable, right? So wherever you're going to search to put your private label rights content to use at a later date, make sure you can easily find it and get it when you want it. And then having the PLR in a system, right? If you basically make sure that you have it someplace where you can find it, you'll use it. What happens to people, experienced people, they have good intentions on using it when they purchase it, but what happens is, they store it away someplace and they can't find it when they think about it, and then they never end up using it. Right? That's not what you want to do. Typically, what you want to do is make sure if you store it away someplace and you have a naming convention and you know where you stored it, you know how you stored it, when you need it, or when an idea comes to your mind, you're going to be able to go and find it on demand. And that's going to be very important if you're going to be successful with private label rights. You can, one thing that you can do is to use all PLR just as it is. So in other words, when you get it, you're going to put it to use as if as you just wrote it, as if you just created it. That's one way to do it. Immediately after purchase. So in some cases, let's say that you purchase a set of articles. So what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that it's spell checked. You're going to make sure it's consistent with your brand, but you're not going to let any grass grow under your feet. You are going to put it to use on your website, or you're going to put it to use by writing it inside of an email to your subscriber list, or you are going to turn it into a video and start recording. Whatever it is, basically, you're going to start using it as if it were your own product or set of content. That is one way of really getting the most of any PLR that you purchase. One of the things that makes all of this worth your time is if you have an existing subscriber list. What typically happens to people is they start acquiring subscribers over time. They don't write them, and then they struggle for what it is they're going to be using to serve those people. When you start having to serve people on a regular basis, you can use private label rights almost immediately so that you're giving people something that really does help them. Right. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to fall into the trap of having and acquiring subscribers and then never writing them, for whatever reason. Maybe because you feel like, oh, I don't really have anything of value. I'm not quite an expert yet. Well, that's why you purchase the expertise and leverage it by getting PLR or private label rights. Now, you can always effectively do this, right, by launching a product, right? And so you can be in front of using PLR by making sure that if something's going to be launched or you have something to launch, that you get it when it's going to be released. And basically, what you're going to do then is you're going to put it inside of your product almost immediately. Um, Even if you get it, right? And this is not always going to happen where you're going to make a purchase and it's going to immediately connect to a need that's right then in the life of the consumer. Sometimes they will, right? In some cases, you'll purchase something and it's lining up with where the market is. For example, you might have realized that, we just did a course on Clubhouse. We gave customers private label rights to that content. Right now, Clubhouse is a hot topic. So it's important that people get that course. And then they start using it right away because now is the time to be talking about Clubhouse. That's the kind of thing that I mean. You want to make sure that once you get it, that you add unique components to it so that even if the basics, the base product is the same as other people, you want to make your offer unique. And I want to park here for a second. When you have any product that you're going to be selling to other people, especially in the digital realm, you have to be in the process of, when I use the term digital product or information product, I am basically talking about forming an offer. And there is a difference between having a product and forming an offer. For example, this is the example that other people have given. I'm just going to borrow it and massage it a little bit. If I had a dog walking business, right? My service or my product is walking the dog, right? So you pay me, you look on my website and you can see I'll walk your dog for X amount of dollars. That's the product, that's the service. But if I were to make an offer, I do more than just the service. I give the customer, I give the customer a, a ride, and I take the customer, in my car. I make sure that the dog has treats. I make sure that the dog has, a sweater for the day. I take pictures of the dog before and after. So in other words, when I tell people you contract with me and let me walk your dog, I'm going to do more than just tell them I'm going to walk your dog. I'm going to surround my service with an offer. And so basically, you're thinking about the same concept here. You are going to have a digital product where you were teaching something and maybe you purchased it with private label rights. That's not the key. The key is what you surround the private label rights product with, because that is really how you make and get people to buy, and that you actually generate revenue by making an offer. Some people think that the PLR all by itself will make people money, and that's not necessarily true. In some cases, it is. But in many cases, you will be able to generate more income with a particular digital product, even if it's not PLR, by making an offer to your customers as opposed to just selling a product. Now, you can make it unique in a lot of different ways. I'm gonna talk through some of those ways now. Um, One thing you can do is you can add an interview to it. So we're talking about, a PLR product. So let's just say, one of the things I'm going to do, let's say that I'm going to create a product on how to successfully walk your dogs. In other words, I'm going to create an instructional product on the best way to walk dogs. Well, one thing that I can do, let's say that I purchased private label rights, a private label rights product on dog walking. Well, what could I do? What can I add to it to make it unique? Well, I could interview experts, and I could add that to my product. I could add case studies. In other words, I could add successful case studies of things that people have done to successfully walk their dog. So in other words, I'm not just giving them the product that has private label rights. I'm adding things to it that will give it more value. I can add bonuses to it. So, in other words, I don't just give people a course that I purchase the private label rights to. I don't just sell that to my customer uh, as is. What I will do is I will add in bonuses to it. Maybe I will give a second course on, how to feed your dog or something else to give that course more value. I can add new components to that course. So in other words, I'm not just going to sell a video course or a PDF course or even a paperback book. I am also going to add on a component. Maybe I'm going to give people something that they can listen to in their MP3 player. Or maybe I'm going to give people something where they can read it, on the on when they're commuting. Whatever the case is, I'm going to add new components. I'm going to add new ways for them to enjoy the product. What I'm trying to do when I add to it is I am trying to get the buyer to see the value in the product. So in other words, the buyer should know that they're getting what is something that you bought as a PLR product. They should not know that, right? That's not for you to tell them, and it should be invisible to them. The fact that you got it, you're already the expert, let's say in dog walking, you just got private label rights to help you to create the product. Now, What you're doing then is you are surrounding that product with more value so that the customer gets more by getting it from you. Now, one of the things that you can do, let's say that if the course, the private label rights is audio or video, you can create your own intro. You can create your own outro and transition. So these are great ways to make video and audio unique. If you buy a text PLR product, you can rewrite it and reorganize it, right? In some cases. If you're going to make a document unique, you can add your logo to a PDF and rebrand it as your own. Now, when you get things like checklists and mind maps, you're typically going to get them as Microsoft Word or PowerPoint documents. So what you want to do is you want to change those things around, right? You want to change them to really look like something that you've actually said. Look, it's not your job. It's your job not just to sell the product. It's your job to create what one management guru calls the unrefusable offer, the mafia offer. In other words, I want to make an offer that cannot be refused. If you keep that in mind, then when you get a PLR product, you will know then how to make it sellable. It's your job. Right? It's not the product's job to sell itself. That's not going to happen. It's your job to take this product, to leverage it, and to make an unrefusable mafia offer. Now, one of the ways you can leverage PLR is by using it to create a stream of income that is recurring. And I think that's a really cool way. And basically, what you're doing is you can create a membership site. I've called this a learning center to those individuals who purchase our PLR. We call this a learning center. There are two ways you can use it inside of a membership or learning center. One thing that you can do is you can make sure that when somebody joins your membership, they have lots of cool stuff, right? So somebody joined your membership, they walk in the doors and they all of a sudden see, wow, look at all this really cool stuff. And one of the ways you can do that is making sure that you've got PLR in order to use it in that way. Another way that you can do is you can make sure that you've got more than what you promised in your sales letter. In other words, you want to make sure that you can reference that you give your customer reference tools. And a minute ago, I talked about a WordPress set of videos. If your course was on anything regarding business, and you were able to purchase a private label rights course on how to use WordPress, that would be helpful. And all you would be doing then is you wouldn't necessarily be selling the course on WordPress. What you would be doing is adding value to the title that you already have, right? That's what private label rights does to you. And what people are going to do inside the course is they're going to get what your title is, but they're also going to be using the reference, which is your WordPress course, inside of your content. And of course, the other thing that you want to do whenever you have a membership is provide unannounced bonuses. And if you can do that consistently, you are going to have happier people inside of your membership. Because what unannounced bonuses do, it allows you to reward people. And you should be rewarding people who are paying you on a monthly basis all of the time, right? So if someone trusts you enough in order to pay you monthly, part of your waking obsession should be figuring out how you can reward them for them giving you their trust to continue to pay you for information. And of course, one of the most important uses of PLR is to provide that membership content. So in some cases, if you have a monthly membership, you want to keep the content flowing, right? And you can do that with private label rights content. Now, let's say that you're an expert in a topic area, but you don't have time to create it, and you've got a membership. Well, then this is a good use of PLR. So you're an expert, but you don't have time to do it all, right? You're busy. You're coaching in some cases. Let's say that you are, no, you're speaking. You're doing summits. You're doing webinars, and you don't have time to create all of the content for your membership or your learning center. Well, this is a good use for PLR to use. If you're not an expert, right? So if let's say that you're not the expert, well, PLR will help you, right? To provide value to the people that are purchasing from you, even though you're not an expert, right? And sometimes, when you can just kind of provide that expertise, you can do that in an email, you can do that in a video, or sometimes even in an ebook. And by giving your customer these extras, you are providing that additional value. Whenever you can, if you have graphics that are given to you when you purchase private label rights, you can add that level of professionalism to what it is that you are doing. Now, one thing that's important to note that the average membership site's tenure is about 3.5 months. So what you should be doing, and that's if you provide the base level of value. So that's if you do what you're supposed to do, typically people are going to last for 3.5 months. So how do you last beyond that? Well, one of the things that you can do is you should be providing an extra bump, right? And so one of the things that I suggest that you do is that for every month that you want beyond, 3.5, make sure you're providing at least one or two bonuses on a regular basis, whatever it is, surprising people with extra things, right? And this is a way for you to say to the person that's subscribing to you that, hey, you know what, you're important, you're a VIP, and I appreciate you, right? And so you can use PLR to sometimes even provide another level. So let's say that the basic level is silver, and people are paying you X amount per month, but you're going to give another level. So you're going to say, well, if you're willing to pay another $20 a month, I'll give you all of these other cool things, and you can use PLR for those other cool things, right? That's a good use for it. Okay, so are there any questions? Any questions? Any questions? So hopefully, if you've never heard of private label rights, that this has been helpful to you. Any questions? Okay, so obviously, I probably have another. I'm going to say another 80 slides. I did 15, and I don't have time to do everything. And there is so much more to teach you about private label rights that if you want to learn more, I'm going to suggest that you go to harperacademy.com. There's a course there that you can get called the PLR Playbook. And in fact, this is the same course that I created for our private label rights customers. So if you want to learn how to use it, go to this URL. You're going to see our curriculum. Now, here's what you're going to be able to get inside of our course. Now, this is going to help you to end writer's block. So if you've ever said, well, I want to sit down, I want to write a book, or I want to create my own product, but I don't know where to start. I'm going to show you how private label rights is going to help you. I'm going to help you overcome your knowledge gaps. So in other words, maybe there's a way, maybe there's some times when you'd like to be able to create a product, some kind of information product, but you feel like there are gaps in where you have knowledge. I'm going to show you how to shore up those gaps using private label rights. I'm going to help you to overcome time barriers to create information products. A lot of you are busy, and you're so busy making it and selling it that you don't have time to teach it. I'm going to show you how to overcome that with private label rights. And I'm going to show you how to use private label rights to create a regular workshop, which you should be doing regardless of what your business model is right now. It's a great way of being able to connect with your customer. I'm going to show you how to use it to create a coaching program. And I'm going to show you how to use PLR to add more incentive for people to make purchases. I'm going to show you how to use PLR to create the unrefusable offer. And I'm going to actually give you what I typically give our PLR customers. I'm going to give you the right to resell the course. And on top of it, I'm going to give you the education on how to do it. Right? So that's what's going to be the cool thing. So once again, just head on over to get our PLR course. You can get that at harperacademy.com/PLR, and you'll be able to get the course there. Also, make sure that if you're going to be attending these workshops on a regular basis, our Central PA meetup, go over to extremebusinessmakeover.com. get our free Get Started course in starting your digital business journey. And what's going to happen is if you sign up right there, I've got a course I'm going to make it available to you called How to Establish a Daily Work Routine. It's probably the most important thing you're going to be able to do when you're online is to establish that work routine. And these 10 videos are going to help you to establish order in your day out of the chaos, especially when you've got to do things like create an information product. So once again, Extreme Business Makeover. Now it's spelled a little weird, right? So if you're hearing me say it, it's probably not going to be the same as if you actually you actually see it. So extreme is spelled with an X, extreme, right? So not extreme, it's extreme. And so go to extremebusinessmakeover.com. Make sure you're signed up, and then you'll get our free Getting Started course, and we'll show you how to get started in your digital business journey. Okay, if this has helped you in any way, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor, right? So if you've been listening for a little while and this has really kind of helped you, I'm going to ask you to go to the plrshow.com/shout and give us a shout out if this has been helpful to you in any way, right? And what we're going to do obviously is, we're going to share that with people. When we have training, we might put that on our sales page. So make sure that you put your business, and put your, your URL and everything that identifies you in that shout out. So once again, if you've benefited in any way, we're going to ask you to head to the plrshow.com/shout. And once again, I just want to let you know, head to the extremebusinessmakeover.com, get our free Getting Started course, getting started in your digital business journey. And again, our free PLR course is at harperacademy.com/PLR. Okay, everybody. Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us here. And I think I was even successful in getting you out of here in 30 minutes. And that is what I like to do. Believe it or not, I used to go an hour with these things. So I don't want to do that. So with that, thank you. I appreciate you all just kind of hanging out with me here. Hope that this has been helpful to you. Have a great night and a pleasant tomorrow. Take care.